Alright, so today we're going to show you how to put chains on a truck. This is everybody's favorite thing. Everybody loves it. But one of the good things is if you know what you're doing, it's a little less daunting. It does take a little bit of effort, but you know, if it's between being stuck and not going anywhere, not getting paid, and being able to throw chains and get some miles behind you, I think hopefully we'd all say, let's just get going. So what I've got is I'm going to show you how to do, we carry two different sets of chains. We have what's called three railers, which go over both tires on one side of an axle, and then we have singles, which go over just one tire. So the first one that I have here is a three railer, and I've got it kind of laid out. I'll show you how to do the layout, because unfortunately a lot of times if you have it on your chain rack, it can get just kind of bundled up, and so when you drag it off, it can be this big pile of chains. So what I've done is I've pulled it out and laid it at long ways here, and then you just want to make sure that you've got it all the way out so you can see everything here. And you want to do that first just to keep it from being all tangled. And secondly, you want to make sure that you don't have any broken links. If you put a chain on and something's broken in the middle or something, it's not going to do you a lot of good, and it'll just tear equipment up. So there's two reasons for that. So now what we're going to do is, you'll notice, so these hooks on either side here. So looking at these chains, you'll notice a few things. One of the things you want to keep in mind is these cross links here. You see that the hooks, to hook them into your outside chains, you want to keep these bends to the top. So when you lay chains, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab them right here and lay them across the tire, and that will allow these to be facing up and not dig into the sidewall of the tire. So now that we've looked at the chain, everything looks pretty good. The other thing you want to do is make sure that all of your cam locks are in the open position. These are called cam locks. So in the open position, they look like this. If they were locked, they would look like that. So you want to make sure that they all are open. So as we look, as part of just inspecting the chains, we'll make sure it looks to me like everything, yep, everything's open. So what you do is you grab the chains on the far side, the side that you're going to be throwing across the tires, and you pick them up like so. You're going to walk over to your axle, and then you're just going to set them right there. Now what you're looking for is you want your center chain to be just about as perfectly in the middle of your tires as you can get. You want to look at everything, make sure it all drapes evenly. That's going to be a big important thing there. And then what I do is you'll find the end that has the lock. So that's this piece right here. And then you're going to find over on this side, you just have an empty piece of chain here. So what you're going to do is you're going to try, and you put your lock through one of these pieces, and then put it against, suck it up tight against your chain, and then you have a loose link right here that links right there. So you want it to be as tight as you can. So I think I can go one more link here and still grab it. And in fact, I need to correct myself. I'm actually going to just do it loosely, because what you want to do is just have it right there, have it on there, and then you're going to do the inside. So the inside on the right next between your frame and your inside tire is where you're going to have another one of these, and you're going to want to do that one as tightly as you can. Okay, so now we're looking at the inside of the tire. So we're underneath, right by the rear differential, and we see the same thing that we saw in the front. So we've got our lock, right here, and we've got our loose piece of chain right here. So what I'm going to do is try and do it as tight as we can, and then clip it right here, and that will lock it in place. And you'll have a little bit of extra here. What I like to do is if you have an extra zip tie or something, you can zip tie it up so this piece doesn't flail around, and you can start hitting things or have problems with that. So let's do that. And again, I apologize, I keep forgetting. So we're actually going to do this loosely as well. And the reason for that is we have to hook the middle. So there's a hook in between the two tires. And this is where a fifth wheel puller comes in real handy. Thank you, sir, my handy assistant. So what we have on this side, we just have a loose piece of chain. On the other side, we just have a hook, just a metal hook. Not like these lockers that we've seen on the inside and the outside, but just a metal hook. So what I do is I take my fifth wheel puller, hook it right here, and then I actually slide that in between the two tires. And then if we go on the other side, we can pull it all the way through. And then we find our hook, which, let me get it unhooked. It's right here. I don't know if you can see. So this is the center hook. So what you're doing with this is you're just going through the tire and you're going to hook it onto this piece that you've pulled through the center. So for this, I'm actually going to take off my gloves so I can feel that better. And I'm actually going to get out and lay on the ground because okay. So what you can see, so you have your hook, you're going to reach through. Oops. And this does take a little finagling. You'll love this part. This is probably the funnest part. So you reach through, and what you're trying to do is just get as big a bite as you can on that. So I'm in the fourth link, and that's going to be good enough because what will happen is then we'll tighten the inside and the outside, and that will suck up all this extra slack. So now, one of the things I forgot to mention when we first started is that one of the key things you're going to need is a key. So this is a tire chain key. Basically, this is what allows you to tighten up the cam locks, which are these things. And what you do is you go all the way around, first the inside and then the outside. What I'm going to do now, though, is remember I put these on just loosely to hold them in. So I think I might be able to grab one more link here. Let's see. Yep. So you want to get it as tight as you can so that the cam locks only have to tighten up a little bit, So we're on this one, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're on the fifth link here. And you want to look and make sure everything is seated flat and also that it's evenly draped around the tire, both the inside and the out. So what I'll do is with this now, is you take this key and you insert it into the middle little slot right here, and then you turn it counterclockwise. And as you turn those counterclockwise, it'll suck up about 1 inch of slack on each one. So you see, this was up here, and now as we rotate it, we've got about 1 inch of slack that's been taken up. So as you do it, there's, I believe, 5 or 6 cam locks on each side that you'll turn, and that'll suck it up real tight. We're tightening it up there, and then up here. And as we turn them and lock them in, so you want to be able to, it'll be hard to put your fingers between the chain and the tire. So on the inside, we've got it pretty dang tight. You'll feel the middle is still pretty loose, and the outside is very loose. So on the outside now, since this is the easiest one to get to, this is the one we do last. So we'll release this lock, and then remember, we're trying to get as much slack pulled out as we can. And let me see if I can grab this one. Okay, so you do that and slip that, so now you got that locked down. I was able to get that on the 4th link in, and so now your cam locks, you want to make sure those sit evenly. In fact, that one isn't, so I'm going to loosen this back up so that I can get that just the way I want it. We might, you just want to make sure you can get good access to everything. Sometimes your chain's a little twisted, but again, it's imperfect. Okay, let's see if I can get this back the way there we go. So we got that there. Of course. Let's see. There we go. As you see, nothing ever goes exactly the way you planned it, but we'll be able to get it on. Okay, so now we've got that locked down. So now we've got to get the cam locks. What I do is I start with the top 3 because they're the easiest to get to. You tighten them down. As you see, it actually gets pretty tight. Okay, so now you see this chain is on there very tightly. One thing you want to do once you have it to this point is you'll if you're somewhere that you have to chain up, or if you're stuck, you'll want to do this on both sides of the same axle. I recommend using the back axle just because it's a little easier to get to. A little more room to work with, and also this is your first drive axle, so this is where you're going to get the most traction. So you'll do this on both sides. One of the things that we run into is a lot of times guys struggle where they are in a parking lot, they hit a bad patch, and all of a sudden they're stuck. And you know, if you're not really familiar with how to chain, it can seem like it's very difficult to chain while you're already stuck. But it actually isn't. They give you a lot of slack, and so you do just what we showed you. And so even if you're sunk down, you know, 6 inches, there's still enough slack in there that you can tighten up each side and get it so it'll stay. And then you can actually slowly turn your wheels so that your locking mechanism on each side will come up to the top, and then you can tighten it down further, and then you can have a good set of chains that should be able to get you out of a stuck situation. So, and then once you get out, or if you are going over a mountain pass and they require chains, once you get to the area where you can unchain safely, just reverse order, undo your cam locks, make sure everything's nice and loose, Then you undo your main locks here and on the other side, and then also in the middle. And then you'll gently roll forward, and that will allow the chains to fall off, and then you can grab them and then put them back on your chain rack. So this is a 3-railer set that we just showed you how to do. We also have singles, which just go over one tire. Basically, it's the same setup as a 3-railer, except it only goes over the one tire. The inside, you still have just a hook and chain, so you'll hook and chain that first, and then you'll pull it tight across, and then put your lock in, and then tighten up your cam locks. A single is easier to put on just because it's lighter. It only goes over one tire, but it doesn't offer as much traction. Sometimes in some situations, if you're stuck, you'll be tempted to put a single on and hope that that gets you out. Not very often do singles give you enough traction to actually get out of a stuck situation. So you'll want to go ahead and put the 3-railers on. The other thing too is, you notice we're in the shop, it's dry, we were able to, easily throw them on and take them off. Most likely you won't be in that same situation when you put chains on, but just be patient, and if you have any questions or anything, you can for sure call us in the shop, and we can walk you through any situations you might have.